Hi, welcome to part 3 of the introduction to Cut-Induced Throw. This is for an experienced player who wants to improve his shot making. That sounds like you. Hang out with me. I have some insights, I think, and some new practice ideas. So let's get on with Cut-Induced Throw, part 3. This is a section about adapt. You see, adapt is the fourth step of 5 for CIT mastery. We've covered the others in the first two parts, and I encourage you to watch those if you haven't. Now, if you can't avoid a shot with too much throw, how do you adapt? There are two main choices. Learn to adapt your aim to compensate, or use gearing English to negate cut-induced throw. Let's start with adjusting your aim. This means to learn the proper aim for the shot, like the correct contact point or ghost ball location, or just shot picture if you just aim that way, and then adapt by adjusting to cut the ball thinner by the needed amount. This means that you know the real aim and can adjust differently as needed for different speeds or spins, which create different amounts of throw. You wouldn't be wrong if you think to yourself, oh, that means I need to go work on practicing that to go experience it and learn how to adjust my aim. Yep, you got it. When setting up practice shots, you have two options. Say throw is 2 degrees and you want to shoot about a 30-degree cut shot. You want to practice it. You can use the aim right CIT setup adjustment of 2 degrees, and the geometric cut will be at 28 degrees, and then you use the normal half ball hit, which is nominally 30-degree cut, but in fact you're setting up for 28 with the CIT adjustment, and now you're overcutting by 2 degrees. And then the ball will pocket in the center with a good hit. Alternatively, you can set up the shot geometrically at 30-degree cut and then judge how to aim for 2 degrees more cut than the half ball hit. Practice until you know how to aim it. Now let's talk about an approach that I think is more practical and certainly more systematic. Take an aim right, and instead of just using the 16 cut angles between straight in and 77 degrees, instead double that and practice shooting the in-between. So 32 cut angles. I consider that expert level. And what that gives you typically is about a 2-degree difference between cuts. So if you learn to be able to distinguish the aim with 2 degrees of separation, that'll give you the next level of competency to be able to compensate for cut-induced throw. It's in 2-degree increments roughly. Here's a setup to illustrate that. We have an aim right setup and a ball setup so that the geometric cut angle is 28 degrees. You see the line, the laser line, is at the halfway between the 26-degree and the 30-degree positions. The contact, not the contact point, the target where you aim the center of the cue ball is shown at the far edge of that object ball, just barely before the edge. That is where you would aim the cue ball. The contact point is halfway between that point and the center of the cue ball. Let's contrast that point with compensating by 2 degrees for cut-induced throw and aiming for a 30-degree cut. This shows the aim for the 30-degree cut. So you need to learn to be able to distinguish that fine a target distinction. So the second way to handle it is gearing English. Use just the right amount of outside English so that the balls roll across each other at impact, thus effectively no sliding friction. It's sliding friction that actually creates the throw. So that amount of outside English depends on the cut angle. So the data for advancing players gives you a table of data indicating the amount of outside spin needed for each of the 16 aim-right cut angles. Those are the angles based on fractional ball hits in 16ths. The bad news is that using side spin introduces complexity in aim because of squirt and swerve, and you need to learn how to adjust for these to hit your target. But the good news is that you don't need to adjust your target at all for CIT. When I say you don't need to adjust your target, I mean the target where the ball is supposed to hit, the actual ghost ball location, or the lines that show you where the cue ball should be impacting to get to the ghost ball location. Those are the same, but because of swerve and squirt from using side spin, in all but rare cases where swerve and squirt compensate exactly. In all other cases, you have to adjust off at an angle. So your actual shot will be at some angle, but the actual impact point will be just as shown with the aim right. And the same side spin works at any speed. Another benefit of gearing English is that it eliminates the risk of skid, that is, balls thrown excessively because of chalk on the balls at their contact point. Gearing English can also help with banking by eliminating not only throw but cut-induced spin on the object ball, which causes errant banking. Practice by setting up shots of striped balls with the stripe aligned to the pocket. Shoot at various cut angles and learn how much side spin is needed for minimal stripe wobble. That is, learn what that looks like for you to achieve it. The data for advancing players gives you 4 alternate ways to get to the same answer, like how many tips of English, or what percent of maximum English, or the actual contact point, and finally where to align the center of the cue stick, whatever floats your boat. For most of us, it's too big a leap to just jump to using side spin to shoot shots and use gearing English. You have to adjust for learning to have your correct head and eye position so you can see the shot properly when you're using side spin. You have to learn to adjust your aim for squirt and swerve, which depend on cue stick elevation, distance to the shot, and shot speed. You also have to be accurate and consistent in your ability to apply side spin. Here I'm demonstrating one small step, which is learning to get consistent with applying side spin. You should do a drill where you apply side spin and you learn to get consistent with it. The very most simple way is just going from long rail to long rail, aiming from one diamond to across to its opposite, and apply an amount of side spin that gets you a certain amount of distance sideways on the rail from which you're shooting, as I'm illustrating here. So you can either just look at the rail and have targets for where you're going in your mind, or I think a more fun way is to put balls out. Start with 3. When You're just trying to develop your skill and see if you can hit at least one of those 3 balls and move up to doing it 5 times in a row. Then as you get better, go down to 2 balls, and then if you get really good, down to 1 ball. Somewhere between, as you get consistent with this, you have more of a chance to actually apply gearing English consistently. You'll still have to learn to compensate for swerve and squirt, but if you can apply the standard amount of side spin, then you have a chance. Developing this skill will also overall help your game. You'll have to have more solid mechanics and a more solid stroke that's consistent, and that will help you on all shots. And a consistent ability to apply side spin will help you in position play. Again, you want to develop consistency. Try and be able to do 5 in a row. I'm not going to show both left and right, but you need to do both because it's easy to have a bias of easier to do spin one direction versus the other. It can happen because you automatically offset to one side or the other, applying more or less spin, or you have a natural swerve one way or the other. So you need to practice both. Here. Okay, we get the idea. So let's wrap up. Cut-induced throw causes shots to go long, up to 5 degrees, but normally less. Sliding friction between the balls is the cause. Learn the situations where it's an issue and adjust. You can adjust by using a faster speed or more cue ball vertical spin, forward roll or draw. If that's not enough, you've got to compensate somehow. Cut thinner or use gearing English. Future videos may expand on this. Stay tuned.